ugh, like you'd have to talk to them. Most men are quite boring. My name's Arrowyn. I'm 51 years old and I'm a mom. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I'm an incredible co-parent. We share her week on, week off. I live in LA in Pasadena. I'm in grad school for depth psychology and creativity. And I'm going to be going to Goucher College in the fall for creative nonfiction. I've got a few books in me. I just rediscovered that. I'm a dancer. Saying that feels weird, but I grew up dancing. I'm now dancing again after 20 years. I'm a storyteller and a harbinger of joy. I'm obsessed with the neurobiology of play. I have some neurodivergence. I'll fire hose you if you want. I can do it. I got a lot of stories, you know. I'm realizing I've lived 51 years and I've got a lot of fucking stories. And that's a currency. There's so much about starting to feel invisible. That feels triggered, like to be in a culture where youth and looking young or presenting young or all that is the currency. To feel that slipping away, that aspect of myself that has been, you know, as an actor, growing up as an actor in Hollywood and being a dancer, and then growing up in Laguna Beach, like that, it was the only currency I felt like I had, was my sexual appeal under the male gaze. And to feel those aspects slowly slipping away, and the ways that I grasp at it desperately, financially, painfully, electing for things to do to my face that are horrific and traumatic. At a place I'm sitting with today, and this is very recent, is just like, as an anecdote, this just happened right before coming up to residential. I'm in a dance performance, and I haven't done a dance performance in 30 years or something. I'm in this group of people, kind of community recital, doing a dance performance, and everyone's younger than me. And I'm suddenly the oldest person in the room. Yet I'm still attracted to things that are like young and youthful, and so I'm there, and there's a couple oldies like me, like a handful of us, but the rest are like 20s, 30s, some 40s, and everyone's getting picked for choice, you know, these like real prominent spots in the dance performance, and I'm not getting picked for any of it. And I kind of considered myself before this last rehearsal like someone who would get picked, that I had something, an X factor, even if I was aging. But I sat there and I felt like the invisibleness of aging in this culture, and I sat with it. And then I was happy to be in the roles I was in the background, which is fine on a lot of levels. But I just drove up here just, you know, this weekend, like feeling into what that sense of like starting to recede is. And at the same time, seeing this other part come forward of maybe what my true artistry is, which is experience, language, poetry. It is all the 51 years I've lived has value in this aspect. And if I can let this like be okay, the visual, maybe this, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's not going down without a fight.
Yeah. You're not quite crone. You're not quite
I'm not quite crone. And also I think being 51 and being in, you know, living in Hollywood and LA and being single, I think is a big part of it too. There's definitely a lot going on in the balance of like appreciating, and I love living alone. I love my alone time. I'm starting to feel like that is more, I want that more. I want to protect that more than I want to be in a partnership that isn't fulfilling. Like the thought is now becoming abhorrent to like have to spend time talking to someone who isn't interesting. Whereas before I would have done anything just to have anyone in my life. Now I'm like, ugh, like you'd have to talk to them. Most men are quite boring. I think it's an interesting, how creativity shows up as the maiden And then the incredible act, and not everybody goes through the mother, right? Or there's different ways to experience the mother, but there's an incredible creative act that can happen in the body of this child being created. And then the creative act of parenting is really underestimated as an improvisational, spontaneous creative act that we try to rigidly control. And so like how my creativity has morphed is it feels like it's less about being seen, it's more about being heard. Part of my coming to Pacifica was a huge reclaiming of my creativity, of me as a creative being, as a person, because I'd been acting in Hollywood for quite some time, and then my life transitioned, and it's a longer story than we have time for now. But anyway, I ended up segueing into being of service in the kind of community-based organizational sector of Greater Los Angeles, doing arts programming in schools, prisons, probation camps, and social justice organizations. And that led me to studying trauma, which then led me down a rabbit hole of like very intense, like almost a decade of learning and teaching sort of the neurobiology of trauma and anti-oppression, anti-violence work. And now I was actually considering a master's in public health from Brown or a master's in depth psychology and creativity from Pacifica. And I had those two options and they couldn't be more disparate. But what I felt was as I looked at the curriculum, I knew this one made more sense and would get me to a place I thought I wanted to be. But this one was calling me in a way that like, it wasn't logical, it wasn't language, it wasn't rational. And yet my whole being was like, this is what you need. So I don't know if there are words necessarily that in the English language for what that is, but I knew I had to go there. And that's how I ended up rediscovering that I am a creative person, even though my whole time here this first year has been like, I don't know what my creative like offering is. And now we just had to write an artist statement for this class. And I realized I'm a maven of connection is what I came to, is that all of my writing, all of my work is about connecting people to themselves and each other through story.
Thanks for watching Motherlands. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. And if you'd like to follow us on Instagram, our handle is @motherlands.docuseries and on TikTok @motherlands.docu.